Let's start this officially. So welcome everyone to the first Nomad Talk. We're doing a series of talks over the next months. So we're doing one every 2 weeks. And Frank, you are our first guest.
Amazing.
So welcome. Thank you so much. You are our first guest. I'm going to talk a little bit about you, just a quick bio, but I think everybody kind of knows you a bit already. So you were a banker in Panama.
Yes.
And in 2012, you went to Miami Ad School.
Yes.
And completely switched over into the creative field. After Frank graduated, he went to Droga5 freelanced for a year, then Droga5 New York, and now Gut Miami. So that's sort of the shell of Frank, but Frank is so much more than that, Frank. So why don't you tell everyone?
I'm wearing the Gut t-shirt today. Yeah.
Nice. So I think tell everyone a little bit, if we could maybe start with this part of the journey, because that is, after all, the theme of our first live. And it's funny that it is, am I too old to change careers? Because speaking to the other directors of Miami Ad School, it seems as if this question comes up a lot when they're interviewing candidates to come into school. And a lot of people are so insecure about changing careers or their age. Even I started Miami Ad School when I was 27. And I remember lots of times thinking like, what am I doing? And then, I
still don't know what am I doing, but yeah.
So take it away, Frank.
Yes, I want to say, first of all, I posted something about this on LinkedIn. I think I was telling you, I think it was like 2-3 weeks ago, right? And I wanted to be as honest and transparent and sincere as I could, to the point that I was scared of the things that I was writing, because I went to those all painful places. I started saying, hi, my name is Frank, and I was a 32-year-old intern. And then I wrote like, does that make me, feel ashamed of myself? And I was just like, no, fuck that shit, no. And I wrote in caps letter, hi, my name is Frank, and I was a 32-year-old intern. And the first phrase that scared me, I said, yes, I was a 32-year-old intern, which meant that I was 10 years older than the juniors.
Than everyone.
Just older than the juniors, 10 years older than them. And, and then I was older than my CDs, basically, maybe my CCO, we were around that same age. So at the beginning, it was one of those topics that when you're going through that moment, you don't want to talk about, you're like, it's almost like when you're a kid and you have acne, you hate somebody telling you, I see you have a pimple. It's like, shut the fuck up. If, if you don't say it, nobody will see it's there. So, now, 8 years after, I can tell you, hey, there's nothing to be ashamed of. The opposite, living a career, I'm not talking about myself, because I don't consider myself a courageous person, but anyone right now who's in that moment of, should I do this? It's important to believe in yourself and just ask yourself one question. What's the scary decision? Staying doing what I'm doing or jumping? And whatever scares you, that's 100% what you should be doing. If something doesn't scares you, you shouldn't do it. And this comes for everything, for presenting ideas, for having a chat with your boss, for even like when you're interviewing, a lot of people try to impress, the people in the other side. When we interviewed, they asked us, what do you guys want to do? We said, I want to show you ideas that could get me fired, and that's it. So basically no one has nothing to lose, So I quit banking. I tried doing my own thing in advertising, but I sucked at it because I had no idea. I was a vice president in banking. So one day I was just like,
you were VP?
Yes, I was the client at some point. Yes, I was a VP at HSBC in Panama. I was, I became a VP, I think around like 26, 27 years old. Why? Because I had no idea what I was doing. So I was just, why is that thing that way? I hate banking, so I'm just going to try to make it cool. I was just asking, why is that like that? Why is that like that? Why is that like that? I was asking a lot of very ignorant questions. And with these ignorant questions, I started trying to change things until the point that I'm like, no, this is not using my creativity. This is, this is not what I should be doing.
But what was the trigger, Frank? I just want to kind of stop you right there.
Yeah, please stop me because I tend to go on long rants.
that's kind of like a turning point for a lot of people, where it's like they're in this situation and they know that's not what they want to do. But then what was your draw, or what interested you about advertising? Was there something that sparked that interest, or did you do any writing on your own, maybe on the side? So it was always kind of like a hidden talent.
For me, advertising, my passion for advertising started, like back in the early 90s, watching MTV and just watching these really weird ads, that made no sense. And I used to laugh, and I'm just like, I want to do something that makes no sense. Like I want to be able to have a career in which I laugh. And, like I've always been an idiot saying, like dumb jokes everywhere. Even from the music that I grew up with, I grew up listening to like punk music and watching bands just go on stage and saying these incredibly stupid jokes. So I'm just like, at some point my life started doing this, like I was just like, I replaced my Vans sneakers and, like my punk t-shirts from bands with like Salvatore Ferragamo shoes. And it was like, I was like, at what point am I started becoming this other person that I'm not myself? And it's not anything that triggered, like that thing I want to quit. Advertising was always that thing that I wanted to do. And I think in the case of many people, it's that one thing we always want to do, but we don't dare to go there. And even if you're in advertising already, maybe you dream of venturing, like, what if I just quit everything and move to London? You want to do that, but you don't dare to do it. So I think we all know what we want to do. It's just daring to take that step and making an informed decision of what's that next step. What's the best place to actually like catapult yourself into the career you actually want to have.
Mm-hmm. So your next step then was to figure out, you were telling me that you started dabbling, I suppose, in advertising, and then you were kind of like, I'm not that great at it yet.
And I was like, I knew that I wanted to do something weird, like weird has always been, not weird, but, just like, what the fuck, like I love generating what the fucks. And I remember I started visiting clients and they were like, do you have a portfolio? Have you ever done anything? And no, I didn't. So, like it was hard, and after almost like 6 months of trying to do something in Panama with advertising, I ran to this point that I was just like, I have to do something. So I applied at a job in, again, marketing for insurance this time, and they hired me. It was AIG as a VP of marketing, which in Panamanian is like CMO, because I was the one in decision of all the marketing for the company. Mm-hmm. And at that same very own moment, I remember I had a girlfriend in Panama, and she was like, take AIG, this is amazing. And I had also applied to Miami Ad School. And I told her, can you just please join me to go to Miami and take a look at what I'm going to say no to? Because yes, I'm going to become, like, I'm not, again, a VP in marketing. It makes sense. It's all the money in the world. I was not convinced. And I came here and I saw one sign, you probably remember this sign, that in the front of school that said, thou shall not do boring advertising. And, like even a phrase like that, I broke down in tears.
Wow.
And she was like, what's happening? And I was just like, I'm sorry. She's like, why? I was just like, I don't think I can go back to Panama. She's like, why? And I was just like, because thou shalt not do boring advertising. This is my life. This is my passion. I'm crazy about this fucking career. So I stayed. No, I didn't stay. I went back home, applied for the visa, got ready, took my Vans out of the closet again, and put those Ferragamo shoes, like inside of a closet. I still wear them sometimes when I have to go to a wedding.
Was it still iPods? You could put some punk rock on your iPods.
Yeah, I was just, like listening to like some NoFX and just like going, like being true to who I am as a person, And I think throughout my career, that has been, like always the one. I don't want to say, that took me where I am because I like I've done nothing yet, But that's the one thing that I always go to. Who I am as a person and who I am as a creative. And, like for me.
And like acting in service of that.
Yes. Like an agency may have a great name, but fuck that, man, no, So, and what actually reinforced this? I had a class and I have to mention him, not because, like he was the one who invited me to this, but I had a class with Jose Guillermo. And the class was called A Brand Called You, and I always thank him for this because I was already, saying stupid, dumb jokes, And this guy, and most, like a lot of people were just like, hey, Frank, tone it down. Hey, Frank, if you keep on, like being this loud, tone it down. And this guy was just like, tone it up,
Crank it up, man. Come on.
like do whatever the fuck you want to do, like it's your career. And this guy was the guy who, and I always thank him, who pushed me to, like be you. Because I agree with him. At the end of the day, the only difference between all of us in this conversation right now is that each of us is uniquely different. So, no, I'm not gonna try to write the next Michael Phelps ad. I'm gonna try to write, the next thing that is inside of my head. And I believe, no, I don't wanna be the next David Droga. No, I don't wanna be any of this. I am me. And let's see where the hell this takes me,
No, for sure. Wow, that's amazing, Frank. Seriously. So tell me a little bit more about how was the experience then? Because we're talking so much about being an intern at 32. So when was that moment? Because at school, you were taking classes and things like that. So of course, it's a little bit different. When was that moment of actually being an intern? How was that experience?
It was at 32. My first internship was at Sapient Nitro in Miami. You remember them? They were at Lincoln Road.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know here, you guys, Frank and I went to school at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool because this is a little reunion. I saw a few other people coming in. Soham, there's a few people
what up,
from our shared history.
What's up, bro?
What up, bro? Good to see you here. Yeah, you remember that Lincoln Road office? Yeah, it was at Lincoln Road office. So I interned there with Kieran Jelover. She was like the one who was like managing. I think she managed your internship, Soham too. And she was super kind. We're still in touch. And then I went to Alma. And in Alma, I interned with these guys called Cuervo. One, I don't know if you ever heard of him, Cuervo, and the other one called Juan Camilo Valdivieso. And those guys were fucking brilliant. And they said a couple of things that I will never forget. When I was presenting them ideas, they used to say, no pasa nada, which means nothing is happening in this idea. And I understood then that for the idea to be good, then something should happen. So, I was like, no pasa nada. I'm gonna take, I'm gonna take that with me, and I'm still good friends with those guys. And it's crazy how at some point you intern and then you become, good friends with your CDs, the people who you were your CDs, because, thanks, dude. So, then you become good friends with these people and just, you align with them, because this career is not about, oh, I am an ACD, oh, I am a CD, or I'm an ACD. It's like, are you crazy about this profession? Then we're gonna get fucking along, because people who love this talk about this for hours. This is all we talk.
I think it's amazing, sort of the quality, because I think almost everyone who goes to Miami Ad School kind of gets that moment where they're like, wow, I met this person who became sort of a mentor and then a friend. I had that same experience, but with Ginny, because I was doing the photography program. And to this day, she's such a great friend, really. Like, and anytime I'm doing work, I always hear her head in my, I always hear her voice in my head, kind of like guiding me to this day. So it's pretty crazy. Let's take one question already, just because I think it's still on the subject. There's one question about visas, which is from Maka. But I think maybe we should leave that a little bit for later.
Also, I want to say another thing. Brilliant people at Alma and Sapient back in those days, and still, Efrain, what's up, dude? I want to say another thing. If anyone wants to ask a question in Spanish, feel free. I'll translate too. So I just want everyone to understand.
So Nicolas asked, did you do/learn something related to advertising before joining Miami Ad School?
I was an advertising major, but I can't tell you that, what I studied actually helped me in anything. I went to FSU in Tallahassee then, before becoming a banker, and I studied creative writing. I graduated as a writer, it's funny.
That's crazy. So you were there, then you left, and then you came back.
Yes, and the funny thing is, I graduated as a writer in FSU, and then I went to Miami Ad School as an art director. So technically, Julia and I are hybrids, and we both like both. But at the end of the day, like I always like copy. Like when I was in Miami Art School, even though I was an art director, I was always writing, like my own copy, or collaborating with people like Soham, Julia, that were always, it's like, who's our director here? Who cares? It's like, what's the
I agree.
idea?
It's just I mean, it's such a creative industry that I think when you try to put ourselves in little boxes, like, so I write. No, I can write, I can create, I can make a video, I can make a lot of things. Of course, you can bring people in when, you don't know something very specific or technical. But I think the more people think like you, Frank, the better the industry is, and people kind of take in a lot of difference. Yeah.
I realized something, when we were interviewing after, Julia and I interviewing in New York, a lot of places were telling, especially me, because I graduated 2 quarters before her. They were telling me, no, like you can't like art and copy. And then at what moment they were like, Frank, let me give you an example. This is almost like you can't play drums and guitar. And at that moment, I was just like, what the fuck is she saying? I play drums and guitar. It's just like, dude, this is an industry about being creative. I think that the less rules we put into it, let's just focus on the ideas, not
Yeah, and I think as creative, because it's actually funny, because I never really knew you were a banker. I actually thought you were like a musician that had
really
quit.
That's cool. That sounds cool. Yeah.
And earlier you were mentioning about this uniqueness, every person is unique. And I think that when we tap into our passions, and then you get like, your work, your music, your this or that, and then whatever makeup it would be for me or for someone else, that's what makes us unique. It's that different combination of things that makes us unique and makes us like stand out in our portfolio or work or whatever.
From that same question, because I think Soham is asking the same question that you asked before, like if there was anything from my previous, background that I was able to incorporate, zillions of things, at the end of the day, when I was a VP, I was in charge of, like at some point, a lot of branches in the bank. So, like managing people, talking to people, that's never going to be, like any different from one career to the other one. The way to motivate people is the same if you're a banker, if you're in advertising. And so yeah, I didn't have a lot of, like advertising upbringing. I had a lot of writing upbringing.
So you weren't insecure at all in that sense? Like when, going to this Soham question, like you weren't insecure about like, I'm a banker and I'm going to, no, you were.
No, I knew I was going to be in advertising.
Okay.
And I knew it. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew what I wanted to do. So, it sounds cool. And I just went all in, like, and something important is, like along the journey, never forget, like the type of creative you are, because you're going to have zillions of mentors who are going to tell you, do this way, do it this way, do it this way. And you should, like grasp all of that, absorb it, but then take a step back and be, like, what is my way? And of course, like if you have the opportunity, try to go for that.
Yeah, I like to think about that as a funnel. Like every person is a funnel, and then you put all that information in, and then whatever comes out is what you made that is your own in your unique way and in your unique style. So basically, from what you said, your first experience as an intern was overall sort of a great experience, right? So let's fast forward a little bit to then.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had 2 internships in New York too.
Oh yeah, go ahead. That was after graduation or no?
No, that was, I did these first 2 here and then 2 in New York.
Oh, cool.
So I did, Alma, Sapient, Alma, and then JWT, and then JWT, and the last one was Saatchi. And JWT and Saatchi, I was already interning with Julia. And because
that's a great segue into one of my questions, which is about finding a creative partner.
Of course.
Go ahead.
So it was that, and we started interning, together, but we started working together before that, even though Julia was a couple of quarters below, like we just clicked and we just started working. And then we were just like the internships happened, and then we're like, we want to work together. And that was like hard because, going back to a topic that somebody brought, visa. how do you do that? How do you do the visa? I don't know. You want to talk
like
about
it's hard enough for one person. Imagine, you have to hire the team.
Yeah, because exactly. Imagine that you want to.
Julia's there, I think.
Yeah, Julia's here. Hey, Julia, what up? Yeah, you're there. What up? But yes, imagine that, that you're like, okay, I'm gonna make a decision right now because I'm gonna work with this person.
Mm-hmm.
But like none of us have visas, so it would be probably easier for me and easier for her just to start working with someone who already has a visa. And I'm just like, we said like, nah, you know what? Every time that you feel insecure about something, go back to the work, go back to the idea. It's like, instead of like focusing on the insecurity of the visa, we started, and Soham did the same thing. We started focusing on the words. We started focusing on the publications,
making good award-worthy work.
Yeah, work that was simple enough. If you can't describe it in a line, the idea is too complicated. So we're just like, like coming up with like very quick things, working night and day, every single day, sending it to publications like crazy because we were like, we have one fucking dream. And that dream is getting a job here. Mm-hmm. So, and we got a visa.
Yeah.
And the visa is called the O1 visa.
Artist visa.
Yeah, it's the artist. That's the Justin Bieber visa. He has that visa.
I remember that. Yeah.
I felt cool telling people, "What visa do you have?" The Justin Bieber one. So that visa is based on awards and publications. So we're like, we have to get it. And when you're in that mindset, there's no other way around. You're like, I'm getting this shit because I'm getting this shit. It's almost like, when you're like jumping from a bungee, like if you start overthinking as you're doing it, you're going to fuck up. You need to be like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it and jump. Yeah. That's what we did.
But I think just to add to that, if someone is like thinking about working in the US or is trying to get a job there, one thing that I did that I think really helped me, which is how I found out about the O1 visa, is when I was like, okay, I'm 1 quarter in school. I know that I want to try staying. I went to see a lawyer already. So I would say, prepare and plan ahead as much as you can. Like go speak to a lawyer because they can look at your whole profile. Like, where are you from? What is your work like? What are your plans? What are your intentions? And they can kind of sort of guide you and say, listen, these are your options. So when my turn came, I had the meeting, he gave me a few options and I looked at the O1 visa and I'm like, that's the one I'm going for. And then I had the same mentality as you, Frank. It's cool to hear you describe it. I was like, this is the one. There is nothing else. This is it. And then I just work, let's go. And it worked out in the end. So I would say, prepare.
You have to prepare because the first lawyer that I visited, I have a great friend of mine. Her cousin is the drummer of this band called Group Love. I don't know if you remember, Take Me to Your Best Friend's House, the famous people. So I go to their lawyer, recommended by them. Her father is the guy who played guitar, Trevor Rabin, who played guitar, Honor of a Lonely Heart. So it's very famous people.
Oh yeah, super famous.
These famous people recommend me to their lawyer. So I go to their lawyer and they're like, you don't qualify for an O1 visa. Of course, because I'm not them. But then I'm like, I'm talking to the wrong lawyer. So guys, like just by informing yourself, sometimes it means that some lawyers are gonna say no, but you're gonna find one lawyer that's gonna say yes. And Soham, Julia, and I, we found this guy called in the middle of Brooklyn called Arda Vescardes, one of the craziest motherfuckers I ever met in my life, a lawyer. I don't know if he's here or whatever. I'm still in touch with this dude. The guy's fucking nuts. And he got us a O1 visa. Walking into his office for me was like watching Entourage and, listening to Ari Gold, like Vince's manager. I was just like, this dude is crazy, but he did it, Better go, Saul. Yeah. So it's insane. There was a question that I don't want to, like how to work the insecurity about the age. I don't want to skip that because I think that's important based on,
I was thinking about that too. I have a few things to say too, but you go first. You're the guest.
I wanted to say, like we're all insecure. The insecurity will never leave. Like even when you think someone is not nervous, they are nervous. So this is almost pretty similar to like mindfulness, right? You have one goal. And you're going to see thoughts that come to your brain and tell you, you're too old. And you can decide to engage with that thought. Or you can just be like, oh, it's normal. I am indeed old. there is this thought, like telling me this thing, I'm just gonna keep on doing this thing. It's not ignoring the thought, it's looking at it with no fear, just being like, I am old. It's, like if you watch The 8 Mile, I love the scene in which Eminem, when he comes out and rap, he says everything that's wrong about him. So then the other guy who comes to rap,
he can't say shit.
Has nothing to say. Like there's nothing wrong with saying, like, hey guys, I am not great at writing manifestos, and there's nothing wrong with that, like it's okay just to say, hey guys, I'm nervous. Hey guys, I am insecure. So the problem is not feeling the insecurity. The problem is engaging with it to the point that it stops you. Shut up, I am not Eminem. I knew you were gonna say that.
There was one more question too. It was, did you have a big wake-up call when going from ad school to your first job outside of being older than your peers? So other than that.
What do you mean? What do you mean like a wake-up call? Like
I guess, I mean, from what I understood from the question, it's like something that either shocked you or was very different from the ad school world into a like job, or maybe you didn't feel a difference at all and it was the same as interning, just more money. I don't know. Like more money with problems.
You're gonna find in every agency the creatives who thinks like us, like the Miami ad school students. We think that everything is fucking possible because we believe, like we hate that bullshit, like production telling you like it's not feasible, or like having an ECD saying like, oh, that idea looks like student work, because in real life there is no fucking real life. There are great ideas and there are bad ideas, and there are budgets and there are producers who are going to make those ideas happen. So if you ever find one of these people telling you like there is like that is like it's not feasible, I agree with you, Efrain, about the budget part, but the thing is like the feasibility is like, don't tell me no, tell me how. Mm-hmm. So, I found the people who were the naysayers, and I found, like the crazy people who just wanted to do crazy shit. And I was just like, I'm going to hang with these, not with that, because I guess it's like every single job, you want to be surrounded by people who, instead of saying no, they say how.
This gives me goosebumps too, because this is so much about finding your tribe and going, just speaking about that whole insecurity thing. I think when you go and you find your tribe and you find the people that want to make things happen with you, or that even if you're not necessarily working with, but they can sort of encourage you and keep you motivated. I think that's a huge part, at least it was for me in the whole process of being in the US and working in the US, is to know that I had a creative tribe and people to talk to. And it's really cool. I love that.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. And I agree, with Efrain, what he's saying, he's saying, like, you're going to hear there's no budget, like it's not on brand, like, how do we make it on brand? Like, how do we, like, is it not on brand? Ask why isn't it on brand? Like, because sometimes, like the solution to make something on brand is as little as, like, the framing, just like it's the same idea, but instead of looking at it from here, let's just move the camera,
shift the perspective,
same idea, but you just make it on framing. So like it's like we need to find less excuses and just like focus more on the work always.
What about this comment? Won't work for the last one. Won't work for whatever market. Insert market here.
Yeah, like I wouldn't do a campaign promoting guns. I wouldn't. I don't know if this is answering that, but like I wouldn't work for something that I don't believe in. Like if there's a brand, let's say it's like a homophobic brand, I have no interest in working for them. Like I want to align, like with brands that like we believe more or less in the same things.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the process of, just to go back a little bit to the creative partner thing, because I know that from my students too, a lot of them have doubts, like, should I partner up? Should I not? So what was sort of, if you could put it down to a few words, like you said, one line, what people can look forward to in a partner, what should they look for? Is it, the personal, like knowing that you can spend hours working with that person, or, what is it for you?
I think that this question is very important, because in a, we don't need to look at our partners just as oh, it works, like it works, like, oh, we come up with great ideas together. There's a lot of other components that go beyond, like the mock-ups that are made on a deck. There's the component of, like when you're fucking freaking out because you have to write 60 scripts and you're blocked because, like you're having anxiety because of the pandemic, and suddenly, someone knocks at your door and it's your favorite food sent by your partner. Believe it or not, that's more important than anything. Like knowing that your partner will have your back regardless of anything, that's more important than anything. So like it's important to have a creative chemistry, but that is not enough. You want to work with people that you want to not have a drink with them like every once in a while. You want to work with people who you feel family with, almost like one person, like we think alike, we see the world in a very similar way. And it's like, and we like someone that you can tell them, hey dude, this sucks, and then I'm telling you, like, I want Julia to tell me your copy sucks, it's horrible, like, because that would only make me, like, feel better. So I personally like having a partner that, like that all the time tells me what she thinks about, my work. And I do the same. I'm sorry, Julia, I'm a pain in the butt. I am a fucking huge pain in the butt, but I think, and then again, when you hear these things, it's all about the idea. It's not about, it's not about anything else but the idea.
Awesome. And what about, because we also get this question a lot in different moments, when you're looking for someone to put on your team, like someone to work with who's, not your partner, but someone who's going to be on the team. Does that change at all? What do you look for when you're looking at portfolios?
It's a great question, Marcelo. I'll respond to that in a second. Yes, to that question you're asking, for example, there was this amazing team, like that came from Disney that I recommended at the agency, because imagine, like, I met one of these guys from this team. Their names are Jeff and Jose. They're fucking brilliant dudes. They did the Beyonce thing for Popeyes. And I met one of these guys like over the phone call, like while I was at Droga, and he wrote to me on LinkedIn, can we hop on a call? She was like, yeah. And, and you start connecting with the person. They start sending you ideas. And you're like, we think alike, The most important thing here is that you wanna work with people who have, at least the same amount of passion you have. Hopefully you want to work with people who have more passion. You want to work with people who are better than you, because if who are way better, so you can learn from them regardless of the seniority. You wanna be surrounded by people who are gonna be texting you, like at 12 a.m. at night, hey dude, what if we do blank? And it's not gonna be the same for everyone. At least, like it worked like that for me,
Cool. We have a few more questions then from Marcelo. Which was the heaviest workload? HSBC, Droga5, or gut?
We have to define what heavy means, right? Because the one that felt the heaviest was HSBC, because I didn't give a fuck, So that one, that one felt the heaviest. Droga, and then we can't compare Droga with gut, because in our first 2 years, we were doing like working a lot, but we were slower. We're faster now, like we get to we concept, in, out, done, so I think it's different. God has been a great experience in the sense, we have great leaders, I fucking love Anselmo, working for that guy is, if you read the things, he says every day, he really means them, the things he posts on LinkedIn. So I love working for him. So, and so that being said, I would say, HSBC felt the heaviest just because, I didn't like it. And guys, I'm not the type of person who's like, oh shit, yes, work-life balance is, it's super important. I have a work-life balance right now. At Droga, I'm not sure I had that, that opportunity of having it, but maybe it was because, I was slower as well.
Do you think that has anything to do with New York versus Miami? Because a lot of people still say that, like.
Yes, but
not really?
Yes, but no, because I wouldn't consider, like God just Miami. We're based here, but it's like we're doing global work.
No, I mean that like the city almost encourages you to like take 5, like go live a little,
yes, But I'm not sure if it was the city or it was my own experience saying, like I want to have a life, because your ideas are going to be affected if you don't have a life. I don't know why I'm holding this pen. Let me put it down.
Because it makes you look very serious.
Oh, you're holding one too? Then I'm just going to keep on holding it.
There you go.
I haven't written anything with this pen in years. But I'm just gonna
Oh my God. I can't live without a pen and paper. I cannot. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, like I want to have a life, and everybody should have a life, because your life at the end of the day is going to make your career better. You need to have to watch those TV shows to know, like those comedy references. It's like you need to have to listen to that song, to read about pop culture. Like we are, cliche aside, Miami Ad School. We are pop culture engineers. That's what we do. We watch something on the news and we turn it into something. That's what we do on a fucking daily basis. And if you don't have time to do that, you're gonna end up with like running out of material to turn it into other things. Like, for example, the question about the book, like it's a great question. My favorite advertising book is actually not an advertising book. Like right now I'm reading this, which is, Is It Anything? And this is Jerry Seinfeld. Like Julia and I, we love comedy. And I think our biggest influences are not ads, it's comedians. My biggest influences on advertising are probably not necessarily other ads, but like punk rock bands and and comedians and things that keep you like that mindset of like questioning everything.
The things that feed your soul.
Yeah, 100%.
Creative soul.
Very zen.
Someone asked you, who is your mentor?
My mentor, my parents.
Probably, I'm sure you. Oh, nice.
Yes, they're in this call. Like mi papá y mamá son mentores. They will always be my mentors and my best friends. They believed in me. I get watery eyes when I say these things, but my parents have always believed in me. Even when I post the dumbest joke on Instagram, my mother responds, "Brilliant." I'm like, it's a dumb joke, but thank you so much. So like I wouldn't have been able to do any of the shit that I've done without their support. That means the world to me. I'm blessed with with an amazing family. My parents, like my aunt who's here, my cousins, they're all here. I can see their names, here. My friends, like I don't think that a mentor has to be a boss. Anyone can be a mentor. Your best friend who hops on a call and stays with you, on a fucking hotel, just when you're feeling down, just I can be like, let's order food to the room, like that's a mentor.
Amazing. Soham is asking you where you see yourself in 5 years.
That's a great question. Like I want to keep growing. But more than anything, I see myself having fun. Like I don't want to ever become, I remember like at the beginning of my career, I started going to interviews and just, like saying jokes and hearing people saying, that's funny. Maybe I don't know where, I know that I want to be a leader. I have a lot of shit to say that I want to, implement in this fucking industry, because I think there's a lot of things that, like that should change. And the most important thing, we should all be having more fun, because that's going to be reflected in the work. So I want to be in a position where I'm able to, like to implement that. But also I want to be able, like to not ever be those guys who see something funny and they say, that's funny. Because if it's funny, you would be laughing. So, like, I'm like, the fuck if you say, that's funny. And in my head, I'm like, I can't trust this person. So yeah, like I see myself in a position where hopefully I can be helpful to help other people who are going through whatever shit I've gone, like throughout my entire career. That's something
more for me. More humor and to the world. We need that.
Yeah, it's like at the end of the day, yes. Don't get me wrong. I love the serious ideas. I love the smart ones. But I love being able just to, like be an idiot and solve a brief in the most stupid possible human way ever. Like it's just, we need to try to, like all the time we try to sound smart, And nobody ever said something smart by trying to sound smart. Just, like, be okay with people looking at you and saying, like, that guy is a complete idiot. It's okay. I got nothing to prove. I am an idiot.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Frank García. No, just kidding.
The idiot.
So I think we're almost at the end of our live, you guys. Oh my God, this was so fast. So guys, send in your questions. Maria Gracia, we kind of answered your question already, which is did you feel insecure wanting to change again?
Yes, I did, but I didn't pay attention to it. I said, fuck it, and I never looked back.
Yeah, so basically never wanted to change again.
No.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be my career for the rest of my life, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That's amazing. So if no one else sends any more questions, I will ask you 2 or 3 more sort of quick questions on advice, maybe some sort of quick advice that people can take with them.
Henry just asked general versus multicultural. I still work for general market. I haven't done multicultural. Well, we've done things, for other countries, but I haven't done multicultural market in the US. Other than my time at Alma, but that was like 3 months interning. But like both GOT and Droga, it was general market.
Mm-hmm. Did you think about, where is this? Sorry. Did you think about getting into strategy with your banking what's exp?
No, I always knew that I just wanted to say bad jokes and dumb jokes, and so I knew, that advertising was that one thing that I wanted to, creative. I've always wanted to be a creative.
Nice. Haroldo saying, well, thank you again for encouraging him, because he's going to Madrid and he's a little bit insecure about his Argentinian nationality, but it'll work out.
It's gonna work out. Don't, just put this chip in your brain. Does that insecurity is gonna help you in any way? Think about it. Like, okay, I'm gonna focus on being insecure. Let me look at this insecurity. I'm gonna be insecure. Like, is that gonna help in any way? Do this career for real? Sometimes, Anselmo always tells us about this book called The Secret, and it's right. If you believe something will happen, it will happen. So you just have to, like, go all in, and don't ever think, imagine if you're surfing a huge wave, at any moment you're like, what if I fall? You're gonna fall. Just be, like, I'm not gonna fucking fall this wave, and you fucking won't.
Yeah. At one point it has to be like,
that board and go back into the water, and that's it. And don't even pay attention to what happened.
All right. What is the one thing you want to change the most in this industry?
I think we should all be nicer, kinder. I think we should be, like, learning that, like, everybody in this industry is human. We're in the most vulnerable careers ever. Every day I wake up and I show you, hey, this is a part of me. So, and I want to change that. And I also want to change the expectations that, that every creative before, and someone tweeted this, like, every creative before solving a brief is like, I'm insecure, what if I don't come up with a great idea? I want to tell, like, people just, like, bring me within the good ideas you come up with, bring me a couple of awful ideas, breaking the ice. Let's try to find ways to make people feel more confident, because confidence is directly, like, connected to better ideas.
Amazing.
And mistakes too.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things. Fail fast. Just get it out of the way.
Fail fast. You're gonna learn something.
Fail fast. Don't try to avoid it. After so much time living in the US, do you think or dream in English or still Spanish?
That's an amazing question, because I ask myself every day that. I don't know. It's like, when ideas come up with, like, what language do ideas speak? I have no clue. It's almost like you should see the idea and you're like, whoa, so I'm sorry about that one. I don't know. I do say that I write ideas in English, like, my thought process to write ideas is in English, and I want to say something very quick. The best way to come up with an idea is by writing it in lines vertically, because in that way you're like, one line. In that way, when you can find, the loops in the idea, and just make sure you're telling the story in a way that other people are going to understand it. That's the most important part.
Cool. I didn't really understand this question. It says experience, creative strategy versus copywriting. I guess if that's your experience, or you want to maybe, Prasad, tell me what you mean, or?
I think some people think that there's a difference between, like being a creative and being a copywriter. So just, like for people, because I don't know, like in every country it works differently, right? Not in every country you have like art direction, copywriter, like things. So I think, creative is coming up with ideas, and it's divided. You have a team, like the one who comes up with the words and the one who makes it beautiful, and then you have teams that, they both have opinions on everything. Julia and I both have opinions on everything. So we both do a little bit of both.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're all creatives.
Yes.
So someone is 32 and advertising is their main passion. I still haven't dared to jump though. What would you say to a CD to convince them that advertising is your main passion and you want to work with them?
Just be yourself. And if they don't see that, whether you're not showing your passion enough or you don't want to work with those people, just be yourself and transparent. Like we're not here to be liked by everyone. No, so that's never gonna happen.
I always say, like, if I see someone it seems as if everybody likes that person, I'm like, I don't know.
There's something weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You can't get along with everybody. It's just impossible. Yeah. So how was English being your second language, working directly in general market at Droga5?
Yeah, that's actually a great question, because Spanish is my first language. And you know what that meant? That meant that I had to work harder than the native speakers. Not because the agency was putting more pressure on me, but because I wanted to be fucking great. Which meant, that at the beginning, I wasn't there. And, and that was something that I was a little bit, nervous about. But when you're nervous about something, that means you have to go there and just say, hey, you know what? I'm not the greatest copywriter in the world. I have to improve this shit. And I did, and I kept going until, I feel super, super comfortable, with my, my English skills and writing,
and I think going back to what we were saying, especially now with what's happening, I think the teams are going to get more and more international, and the language barrier is going to continue to become less of an issue, I think, and I hope.
And also I want to say that, we're not here to do, this is not it's not a grammar competition. Writing is ideas. And if you can talk, you can write, so we're not applying for the copy editing department. Whether you should own your fucking copy and not make mistakes, but we're not applying for copy editing. So whoever tells it's like, it's all about the ideas you're writing, and so yeah, you might commit a couple of grammar mistakes, but it's up to you to want to improve and read, learn, watch comedies. It's not just I want to be a decent Hispanic guy who writes copy in English. Guys, no, I want to be able to write as well as this fucker, Jerry Seinfeld, and you have to believe in that shit. You have to be like, no, this is not enough. Nothing is ever enough. You have to keep on wanting to keep on growing.
Awesome. All right, we have a few more questions. I'm going to try to put some together like this. We can start to wrap up. So if someone asks you if you can describe your creative process, and I think that links to, is there a structure to the process, exercises you can trust?
Yeah, a couple of things about concepting that always work for me, and this is me. It doesn't mean you guys have to do it. We love finding the story of the brand and finding these interesting, quirky things that have happened to the brand at some point that nobody has ever done anything with them. There's always an idea there. Another thing that there's always an idea in is, what is the most stupid way to solve this brief? Almost like, what is the bad way to solve this brief? There's always an idea in the bad way to solve the brief that's going to lead directly to comedy. It's like, so that, those are two channels always in, it's the history of the brand. Learn it, consume the product, become the product's, fan, because you're not going to be able to promote something if that something is not a part of your everyday life.
Amazing. I think both of these questions are related to age. So someone asks if you have thoughts on ageism in the industry, and do you have any advice on making sure you're getting compensated properly and trusting the work of your worth, especially when you're starting over in a new career? So both related to age.
thoughts on ageism, I mean, in the agency, in the industry. I think that, you know, like in my head, in the way I see it, age is nothing, guys. Like for real, age is the same thing as the color of our t-shirts. You know, like age does not represent at all the way our brains work. You know, like I probably have more things in common with a 16-year-old kid than with someone my age. You know, like for real. You know, like it's age is nothing. So, and about the compensation, and again, if you're in a situation in which this is a conversation, you shouldn't be there because that's mediocre. Let's judge ideas, not people, not ages. And also about the compensation is, you know, like there's a website called Glassdoor where you can type, you know, like what's the salary for this position? Make sure you're always compensated, you know, the salary, you know, like that you should be making. And if you're not making the, you know, the average salary for your position, you should have a conversation. Even though this is our passion and our hobby, it's also a job. It is a business.
Soham wants to know what can a person say to CDs and ECDs who say awards are crap and blah, 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 and you don't need them?
I would send them back to Miami Art School so they learn how to win them.
Amazing.
I would say, you know what, like awards are the consequence of great work. Okay? Yeah. So you want to do great work but don't want to have consequences? You know, awards are nothing but the consequence. It's almost saying I want to win the Olympics, but I don't want the trophy. That makes no sense. I'm not saying become, you know, like a person who's only driven by awards, but awards are nothing but the consequence of great work. If your work was in the cover of the New York Times, guys, it's gonna get an award. What's wrong with that? Awards help people with their visas. There's a lot of people who see awards as something negative. It doesn't, unless you become someone who you think you're better than the others because you have awards. That means you're you know, like people who have with awards are the same people that you know, like that they were before. They just
it's like when you read about those stars that have an Oscar and they leave the Oscar in their guest bathroom for people to, you know, it's like, well, you have one, so of course you can be so like, oh, you know.
Yeah, so you know, like awards are the consequence of great work.
Are you more art or copy?
Copy.
Cool. Someone also asked you, what's the work you're most proud of? I'm sure that's a tough thing to answer. You've done so much cool work.
Thank you so much. First of all, a couple of things, you know, like first there was an idea that we never made. That's the one that I'm most proud of because we ended up presenting to the Hillary Clinton team. It was turning Donald Trump's campaign promises into virtual reality experiences before before he ran for the elections. That never happened, but that got us to sit in front of David Droga, and David Droga told us, you know, like, this is the best fucking political idea I've ever heard in my life. And at that moment, I was just like cooking, like, David Droga likes our idea, you know. And after that, 2 campaigns here at God. It's insane when we read about, you know, the launch of the Popeyes chicken sandwich and everything that happened, you know, like it's insane, you know, like doing work that when you go on the street, you hear people talking about it. That's insane. Mm-hmm. And I love Bagel Dad for Philadelphia cream cheese. That will always be one of our most stupid ideas. It was just, you know, like, how do we, that we did with, you know, like Jeff and Ellie also at God, how do we, you know, how do we serve more bagels? By turning everything into a bagel, you know, with a punch, you know, like something to punch the holes. So yeah. But, all right. But we have to try to do, at the end of the day, you know, like I love the stuff we do, you know, and always try to, you know, like never present something you don't like. Always present just stuff you love. If you're not sure about something, take it out of that Google Doc. There's no need for you to put in front of your CDs ideas that you don't like.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on working with a partner and working alone, either being a student or at work? For example, at contests, in either scenario, sometimes for me, it's difficult to work alone.
Yes. For example, in my case, for me, it's easier to work with, you know, like a partner. And that's because of the dynamic Julia and I have both, you know, like we ping pong the idea. Sometimes she has a finding and she's like, look at this thing I found. And I'm like, you know, it's like a ping pong. And I respond, look at this idea. Sometimes I'm like, look at this finding. And she responds with the ping pong again, you know. I think that, but that's my case. You know, like there's nothing written in stone. If it's easier for you to work for awards on your own, then that's super, you know, like perfectly fine.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I can say is like, even if you don't have a partner, for example, I have one of my best friends is sort of my creative mentor in a way. It's funny you put it that way. So, you know, I'm doing my work, and then sometimes when I get stuck, I'll just give her a call and kind of like, so it doesn't have to be someone who's directly in your industry, but I would say it's important if you're stuck or feeling like it's difficult to work alone, call someone who knows you, and they'll be able to kind of unstick you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, last couple of questions. So there's a question here that kind of segues into the last few questions that I wanted to ask you, which is, are you proud of the work/ideas you do daily? Do you feel happy? And I kind of wanted to close off by asking you, and I think it's related to this question, what advice you would give to people that want to get into the industry, and then also, how do you stay motivated? So I think in a way, those three things.
So the first one was, you know, how do my personal activities like are represented in my career?
No, are you proud of the work you do? Like, do you feel happy working on the ideas you do every day? Yeah.
Yes, I do. And in this industry, there's a lot of people who are not. You know what does that mean? You are at the wrong place. So I am happy with the work I do. I'm happy to wake up and just do things on an everyday basis. Hey, George, what's up? Yeah, Tori's amazing. Thank you so much, man. It means a lot.
Yeah, you guys, find Frank on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Hit him up with lots of questions.
I know. I think he's a banker. Yeah, I think I remember these on the comments. Oh, thank you, Henry.
So it's basically like advice you can give to people who are starting out in general, because I think we've pretty much established that. Are you too old to change careers? I would say the answer is very clearly no.
The answer could be no, but the answer could be also, yeah, so what? You know, you know, it's the same. Whatever, you know, like, is there a right answer for this? No, you're just going to do it because you have to.
So any parting advice?
It's never too late. It really isn't.
Yeah. Any parting advice for people who want to get in the industry or who are kind of looking for motivation? I think also, especially with everything we're going through, looking for some motivation to kind of stay in things right now and just.
It's believe in yourself. That's the only one thing you can do, because if you don't, nobody will. So your inspiration, I'm sorry to say this, yes, you were going to find it in different places, but you can't rely on external inspiration and motivation, because sometimes it will be there, but sometimes there won't. So, you know, like I invite everyone to find, you know, like internal motivations, just saying, fuck it, I'm gonna do this.
And with those words, Frank, I want to thank you so much for being tonight. I can see from the comments that everyone is just like, has goosebumps, and everyone is going crazy with all of your answers. That just speaks to the amazing creative and person you are. Thank you so much for your generosity, your time, your words. And that's it, you guys. Find Frank. He's such a cool guy, as you can see. So I'm sure he'll be available to talk to you guys. And be sure to check out our next Nomad Talks too. We have the next one 2 weeks from now. So stay with us, you know, join our tribe of creatives. We need this, these moments of joy to talk about ideas and creativity. For me, I know it feeds my soul. So thank you so much, Frank.
Well, I'll be here to hear the next one. And thank you for having me. Thank you for everyone who connected tonight. You know, happy to chat with any of you. Connect over LinkedIn, you know, if we need to do a phone call, whatever. Thank you everyone, you know, for connecting. Julia, Soham, Shadab, Hatem, you know, my parents, my friends, you know, like everyone who connected today, my friends from
Shout out to the fam.
Alberto, Angie, everyone, you know, like thank you guys for the support, and let's fucking do this.